events and try to understand how those impact client portfolios, so we can advise our analysts and our advisors about that early on, and have conversations with our clients. So we're seeing a lot of opportunities. We're not there yet completely with where we would love to see the world. Machine learning has achieved a lot, but it's not yet at the level that it can perform high-level cognition. And so there's a lot of that we're really looking forward in the years to come.
In terms of a specific item in your portfolio, I know you're responsible for your AI portfolio. Would you give one example of where you are at this moment and what would be the next step you want to go? Briefly, please.
So today, like I said, we have the ability to analyze news and derive insights and notify our analysts about things that they should be paying attention to today, essentially reducing the noise. What we would love to be able to do is to then model the next step, which is how do we act on that information? How do we change our positions? What is the right type of advice to give to our clients? All of this is done by humans today because of the contextual understanding that they have about everything else that is going on with these clients.
Thank you, Fatini. Let me go to Hussein. Same question, whether there is a hype, where are you exactly in terms of where you want to be?
I believe there is a hype. It might even be as much as 99%, and it will continue to be that way until investors, there are more of them who are practitioners, specifically who understand AI and narrow AI, specifically machine learning. But things are improving. And as far as the upside, the potential is great in that ultimately this is science and technology, and that means it can be proven. Hence, as more organizations and companies who are deploying machine learning effectively are able to take it out to market and have that be tested in a very scientific way, then you're going to see outperformers and those who are able to deploy it effectively. The gap of risk and what they're able to deliver are growing over time compared to the others. And that is a big thing that we are already seeing in our industry, for example.
So how much ground do you think you have covered? Any specific landmarks or any specific example you can give?
So we've way, and then we yet have a very long way to go still, in that our focus is on identity verification. We sit in the middle of 1,500 businesses, and any one of them that wants to onboard people, they're asked to take a photo of their government ID and a selfie video. And then we're using machine learning to verify it's a genuine ID and that the person's face matches a photo on the ID. But if you imagine that, for instance, the United Nations has said up to 5% of the world GDP is laundered money, and that's almost $2 trillion. Fraud is growing, security is continuing to be an issue, and therefore the only real effective way to stop that is to use effective machine learning. And by sitting in the middle of all the different businesses, our models are continuously learning, getting better, and increasingly helping detect and stop and reduce these fraudsters trying to commit money laundering and other things.
Thank you very much, Hussein. Daniela, let me go to you, expert in speech, science and technology in crowdsourcing. Your perspective, please.
Well, there is a hype in the investment community for sure. The tech world is pouring millions of dollars of investment into foundational frameworks, but we are still in infancy level. We are still scraping the surface of this new revolution that is called AI. To give you an idea, 20 years ago when I started my career, this was still science fiction. And the world thought 40 years before, when Stanley Kubrick launched 2001 Space Odyssey, that we were going to be talking with machines already in the year 2001. The fact is, 20 more years fast forward, 2020, we are starting to talk with machines. We are starting to communicate with them as we speak with humans, but it's the technology is still not there. We are doing it in English. There's 2,000 more languages to go through. There's lots of domains of knowledge that we haven't covered. So we are in the infancy of AI for sure.
Yeah. Would you give some specific examples, for instance, in speech, science and technology, where exactly you are at this moment?
So we are already, it's possible. I mean, especially in the United States, we've done lots of breakthroughs technology-wise to, you see digital assistants on your phone, on your cars, on your houses. you're able to more or less call a customer service in a lot of industries and get a first triage in customer experience, but we're so far from actually not involving a human, which or not getting the right answer. And this is just American English. So we have done a lot of progress in American English in a lot of sectors, but there's a worlds to go in terms of more data to be collected, more applications to be developed in every industry sector.
Of course, and we're talking about 2,000 different languages in this world. So indeed, a lot of potential to be tapped there. Futinia, let me again ask you this follow-up question in terms of untapping the potential of AI. How do we stay clear of data monopoly, and how can you build up trust and regulation in terms of machine learning?
I think data monopoly is a real challenge here because data is the lifeline for machine learning. You can't do it without it. And you need really large data sets for any of the modern AI methods to be able to work. But data lie with a few companies around the world who have been in business for a long time with platform companies and have access to that extremely important resource. The challenge with sharing that and fulfilling an ecosystem of innovation around it is usually trust. And that comes with concerns around privacy for your clients. So it's very important to be looking into what technological approaches we can bring to the table to solve for these challenges, because there's legitimate reasons. So synthetic data generation, differential privacy. How do you build privacy right into an engineering design so that you have that guarantee that personal and sensitive information will never be shared? And in terms of regulation, I think that's half of the story. I think every business is responsible for itself to think about responsible AI development. It cannot be an afterthought. You have to expect that is a problem with this new technology, and think about how do you earn the right to be in business every day. We come in banking, we are holders of one of the most sensitive type of asset of our clients, which is their personal finances. Next to healthcare, I think that's very sensitive data. And so we take that extremely seriously with privacy preserving AI.
Good to know, because banking indeed is a very private issue. But that's also true, I guess, with what Hussein is busy with, facial recognition, identity fraud, or verification. You're using people's face, for instance, but does it mean that the AI that you use could potentially be biased, and how would that affect democratization of AI?
Correct. So we all remember the Microsoft chatbot, for instance, or autonomous vehicles having accidents. So in our applications, facial similarity, comparing the person's face to the photo on the ID. And we saw that, for example, darker skins, we had a worse performance than Caucasian faces. So we naturally, first is to ensure that you identify and you know that this is happening. So we went to the Information Commissioner's office in the UK, and we were part of their privacy sandbox, where we said we need to profile individuals as darker skin or Caucasian, and that will enhance and improve our models. And that's what happened. So although Caucasian faces still outperform darker skin, the darker skin accuracy has gone up by 10x, which is a big improvement. And yet there's a long way to go. But being aware that it's there, recognizing and having targeted approaches to solve for it helps. And the extent to which the democratization of access in AI is sort of in a different point. The challenge is, as companies make progress, specifically the very large tech giants, they're increasingly gaining privileged access to data. And data is a bloodline to AI models working effectively. So we may get to a scenario in a not so distant future that it will be hard for new startups to compete as these large tech companies are able to take the data. So we are able to do very well because they're not in our space. But this is something that's continuously front of mind for the whole tech community, and is only going to get worse.
I hope you're also considering Asian colors in between dark and Caucasian color, right?
Correct.
Yes, okay. Daniela, because I'm Chinese, so it naturally comes to my mind. Daniela, what is, as you said, you're only scratching the surface, and we're still, it's not scientific fiction anymore, but still it's the very beginning. So what is a utopian state for AI in your description, and how can we work together to get there?
Well, the utopia, in my opinion, is when you cannot distinguish uh, if you're talking to a machine or to a human anymore. And that may actually have advantages and disadvantages that actually can, it's proven in many places that with aging population, for example, that can actually be a big uh, help for humans to feel like they connect. Humans are emotional beings. We need to connect with other humans, and if they are not around, there is an important aspect there that maybe machines can supply. There are very few companies still working on emotional AI. That is another level of everything. And of course, if once machines have emotions and start thinking for themselves, other ethics issues arise, and then we will cross that bridge when we get there. But honestly, AI is supposed to be an augmentation of humans. It's supposed to be helping us. It's supposed to help us to is like giving us superpowers, really. So I think that is a more realistic utopia, and that's what. And the next step in my field is multimodal, is integrating different modalities, which right now, technologically speaking, we're still in the infancy too, bringing together the speech, natural language processing, and computer vision, which is the same way as we process information cognitively and respond to it.
Well, we probably only have so much time to get to where we are at this moment in this conversation, but it's been very interesting to me. I hope it's been inspiring to our audiences as well. Many thanks to Fatini, Hussein, and Daniela joining us from across the continent, and many thanks for our audiences for having followed us.
We also have a series of events running across the Collision from Home